I have a lot going on this morning. Good morning, everyone. This is a separate video from what I am filming for my daily vlogs. It's not going to be so long, and you're going to hear noise in the background. That is my dishwasher washing and sterilizing my jars for today's project. So the very first thing that I'm going to do on making my own tomato soup to go on my shelf is were frozen tomatoes that I picked up from the farm, and I just I washed them, threw them into a bag, and threw them in the freezer. And today is the first day that we have kind of a cold snap, and so we're going to get in here, and these are the ones from the food bank, the little grape tomatoes the skin was too tough to eat. So we're going to get in here and we're going to process these into something that I can make this tomato soup out of. And so, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to get her done. Don't mind the dishes. The dishes are from my breakfast this morning. And as soon as the dishwasher gets done, then I will unload the dishwasher with the jars that I need for this project and put these in there. So here we go. We're gonna start peeling the tomatoes. I have the pot here that I'm gonna be cooking the soup in, and the tomatoes are gonna be going in there. Let me get a knife out just in case I need it. Along with the board. This, you know what? I think this has had its better days. It's going in the trash. I have other boards, so let's get out another board. It's a much better board. There we go. So what I'm going to do is take these now thawed out tomatoes, and I'm going to show you how quick and easy it is to peel the tomatoes. See how easy it is? And so I'm going to take the peeling off of it. You see all of that water? That's okay. I do not need that water itself. What I need is the pulp from the tomato. That's what I need for the soup. Okay? And this goes in the trash. And this is the reason why there we go. And I'm gonna put the stem in the trash, and that tomato will go into the pot. I'm gonna do this with a couple of them for you guys and let you see what this looks like as you process frozen tomatoes. Squeeze the juice out of it. Don't have juice all over the counter. Then I'm going to cut the top off of it. And I'm going to go through this and do this with all the tomatoes. That's the first step to this. Processing this makes it a whole lot easier, by the way, when you freeze them. Otherwise you have to blanch them. And this skips the stage of blanching. All right. I am going to get through this and get this done, and I'll bring you back. All right, everyone, we are in here, and doing the math on this recipe is turning out to be very interesting, all right? Because the recipe calls for 1 cup per recipe. And remember, I'm doing 1.5 recipes of this. And so I am looking at the recipe. So I need to multiply it. No, I need to do a recipe and then divide it in half and add that much in, okay? That's how I think. So, because we had 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We had 12 pounds of tomatoes. So therefore, I need to do, and I have it separated equally in 2 pots because the pots weren't big enough. I don't have a big pot. I wish I did, but I don't have one. Maybe in the future I'll get one. But right now we're going to do 2 pots of it. And that means that I have to I have to do things differently. And I have to now 1.5 times it and then divide it by 2, so because I have it in 2 pots. And so half of the ingredients need to go in 1 pot and half goes in the other. So this is getting pretty complicated. So I am trying to take my time and make sure I get the measurements correct. So that I've got the tomatoes in the pots. Now it says that I need to saute the onion, garlic, I need to saute in oil the onions, the garlic, pepper, and saute until they are tender but not brown. All right, so let's do that. I need to get out another pan to saute this stuff. Okay. All right, in this skillet that I just washed, because that's what I made my omelet in, the recipe calls for 1 tablespoon of olive oil. I'm doing 1.5 of this, so it's going to be 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil. So we're going to start with that, because then the vegetables are going to be, then the other ingredients are going to be sauteed in here, like the onions and the garlic and all that. So 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil. So here we have 1.5. Okay. I know my floor is sticky. I will mop it later, but once I get done with all of this cooking, then it'll get mopped again. All right, so it says put that in there over medium heat, add onion, garlic, and salt. Onion, garlic, salt, and pepper. So we need 3 cups of onions, garlic, three cups of onions, let me get the garlic out. Onions, garlic, salt, and pepper. All right, so I got the onions. And it says 3 cups of onions. Woo! All right, let's see. I need to get this hot first. Okay. We're gonna see how many cups of onions did I have ready here. Alright, I'm waiting for that onion to start sizzling, and then I know it's ready. I do believe I have 3 cups right here. If not, I have more chopped up. It's all covered up. Right. How much garlic did it say? So 6 tablespoons of garlic. There it goes. So in those 3 cups of chopped onions. Here we go. 3 cups of chopped onions. So that's empty. I'm emptying up some bags out of my freezer. Look at me getting things done. And then it says 6 tablespoons of minced garlic. Now, mind you, the seasonings you can put as many as you want. I think I'm only gonna put 4. It calls for 4 cloves of garlic, which would be, that's what I'm gonna put in there. Okay. Get this wiped up. I just made a mess with the garlic. Well, that's alright. I'll be cleaning that up anyway. And then it says, put the garlic back in the refrigerator. And then it says, how much pepper and salt? 5 teaspoons of salt, so 5, 6, 7.5 teaspoons of salt and 3 teaspoons of pepper. Let me get the teaspoon out. Okay. 7.5 teaspoons. I am using canning salt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a little bit more. 7.5 teaspoons of salt. 3 teaspoons of ground pepper. One, 2, 3. All right, got all that. I'm gonna get this moving around in that oil. And remember, I'm looking for the onions to get translucent. That's what I'm looking for. This is going to be an all-day process, by the way. It is 2:30 in the afternoon, and yeah, it's going to be an all-day process. It may be a 2-day process. We will see. The liquid came out of the frozen onions, which is fine. So I'm just going to let this simmer, and I'll bring you back when it's done. All right, so I have this sauteed, and it's ready to go into the pots. So I'm going to back you up just a little bit. Let me back you up. Here we go. Half of this is going to go into one pot and half into the other. And so I am just going to put 1 spoon at a time in each pot. That way it's pretty evenly dispersed. There we go. I would say that's pretty evenly dispersed. And now the next ingredient that goes into here, I'll set this over here, is it says. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. The next thing I'm going to do is add in, I'm going to get this up to a boil here. So now I'm going to move these pans up to the front burners so I can handle them. And we're going to bring these up to a boil. I'll bring you back when these are simmering and up to a boil. I am going to put the lid on them because that will help them get up to a boil quicker. So now we have both pots simmering, and I'll be back. I forgot my glasses in the other room. Okay, so now the next step is my bottle of white, semi-dry white wine that I have, and I'm not showing you the label because it will tell you where I live or close to where I live. This is a local winery that I help support. When I go and buy wine, I go and buy it from them, and each of these needs 3/4 cup of wine, which is a half plus a fourth. So I'm going to put a half a cup in here. And then use my fourth cup that I just washed up and put that in there. In each one of these. And that was about a half a bottle of wine. And this particular bottle was a screw-on cap, which made it easy to get into. And now what I'm going to do is, thought I got me another spoon out, but I didn't, so let me get a spoon out. I do want the metal one in here. I am going to stir it in there, and we're going to let this simmer for 10 minutes uncovered to cook out the alcohol. So I'm going to let this go for 10 minutes and cook out the alcohol. I was supposed to put it in with the onions and the garlic and all that stuff and let it simmer for 10 minutes, but I don't think it, as long as I let it simmer for 10 minutes, I don't think it's going to matter. I think it'll evaporate. The alcohol will. So we're going to do it this way. And let this simmer for 10 minutes open so the alcohol can go away. Alright, I'm bringing you in to show you that I have been simmering this for about 10 minutes uncovered. And what we're going to do next is I'm setting everything up to start the canning process, because soon it'll be time for me to can this. So the next step is a call for a cup of fresh basil. I do not have fresh basil, I have dried basil. And so the conversion from 1 cup of fresh to dried is 1/3. So 1 cup of basil is no, yeah. 1 cup of basil is 1/3 cup of dried basil. So I'm gonna put, I have a 1/3 cup here, and I'm gonna put half of it in each one. And then remember, we're halving this, so 2 tablespoons is the conversion for half of 1/3. So 1 tablespoon in here, 1 tablespoon in there, and there's the basil in the soup. We're gonna get this stirred in. Along with the chicken, the broth. It says you can use any broth you have. We needed 6 cups, 3 cups in each pot. So I'm gonna use a quart, which is 4 cups of my homemade chicken broth. Let me get my opener out. Half of my chicken broth from my quart jar goes in here. And the other half goes in here. That's 1 quart. And then I did turkey broth from the turkey carcass last November, and it smells good. So half of this is going to go in this pot, and half of this is going to go in this pot. So now we have both chicken and turkey broth in both of these soups. And this is why I like to have ingredient, like I like to have chicken and turkey broth and vegetable broth on my shelf, because I never know when I'm canning when I'm gonna need it. And now we're gonna bring this back up to a simmer. And I'm following the process in the canning book. Each ingredient as we go. No, the next step is I'm going to turn this off, and we're going to blend this. Let me go get my, oh, hold on. I was going to leave the camera going, but no. I'll be right back. All right, I'm bringing you in to show you that I have the 2 pots really close to my immersion blender. And we're going to go in now and we're going to blend up these tomatoes and all of these ingredients into a very smooth soup using my immersion blender. This is the first time I'm using this. It was gifted to me by a viewer, and I have been really looking forward to this. It sucks to the bottom. I don't know if it's supposed to do that. That worked out really, really well. I realized that I needed to tilt it slightly, and I have to really hold on to it because this thing will take off on you. So let me go over to this one and do the same thing over here. I do believe that blended it up pretty good. All right, I'm gonna take it apart. I just saw that. So I'll be cleaning that up. The cord went into that soup. I saw that. And then both of these are going to go back onto the flame. And the instructions say, I'll tell you what, let me get this cleaned up and I'll be right back. I'm back. Wiped everything up. Because Lord forbid that we make a mess while we're cooking. No, no, no. Not on camera. I'm having fun, by the way, okay? I'm not complaining. All right, so it says bring to simmer. Okay, what it says, hold on. Smooth, okay. Return to Dutch oven, bring to simmer. Okay. Now is the time for me to get ready for canning the jar, putting it in the canning of the jars, okay? So I'll be back. So what the instructions say is bring it to a simmer, let it simmer for a few minutes. So that's what I'm gonna do. After I have blended it all together, I wanna simmer it for a few minutes. I'm gonna turn it off, let it cool down just a little bit because my jars are not hot because I had them washed and sterilized early on in the morning and it's 3:30 in the afternoon before I even got done with this. So my jars are not hot. So I'm gonna have to let this cool down so I don't shock my jars. So we're gonna simmer this for a few minutes. I'm gonna show you how I do this. If you don't want to handle hot liquids, you can do it a little bit different and it'll be okay. It'll take a little longer, but it'll be all right. Because I've always canned that way. I prefer to do it. My mother did hot jars, but I never did. I was not a big fan of hot jars, but this is going to make some wonderful tomato soup. Look at that. I do like my soup kind of on the runny side, my tomato soup. And so once I get this up and simmering, I tell you what, I'm going to stop for a second here and I'm going to sample. Get a teaspoon and I'm going to sample each pot. Oh my gosh. That is so good. And the perfect consistency for me. For me. I like my soup a little on the watery side. Let me try this one. Perfect. Both of them are perfect. So they're coming up to a simmer. And there's no lumps in it, which is what I wanted. Now you could let this simmer down and make it a little thicker if you wanted to. When you take it out of the jar and get ready to heat it up, if you want a little creamy tomato soup, all you do is add a little cream to it. All right, I'm gonna turn the vent on because it is finally getting hot in this kitchen. I'll bring you back. I'm bringing you in to let you know that we are going to be start filling the jars. And my goal is to put, mine is supposed to be 2 cups. And so I'm going to turn this off for right now while we fill the jars. I have gotten the kitchen cleaned up quite a bit. And I do have rings in my pocket. So let me get these over here and out of my pocket because I don't want them falling out. There we go. Now my pockets are empty. And the goal is to try to get 2 cups of this soup into each jar with 1-inch headspace. It's a little over 2 cups, okay? I want 1-inch headspace on this. All right, there we go. And we're gonna keep filling these jars. And I'll continue with this and I'll bring you back when I'm done. All right, the next step in this process is I have a little bowl right here of vinegar, and it's just white vinegar. And I'm gonna dip a paper towel in it, and I'm gonna go around and wipe all of the rims of the jars really well. And making sure that they are clean. Before I touch the rim, I'm going to place a lid on it and a ring, fingertip tight. Trying the inside of these lids as I go. Fingertip tight. And ready to go into to be processed. I'm going to keep wiping the rims, making sure that the rims are clean. It made 12 jars. Remember, I told you it was supposed to make 9, but it made 3 extra jars. I'm gonna keep working on these rims. I did go take a nap. Well, I laid down. I didn't really take a nap. I did lay down and rest my body because this is a marathon today. But it's so worth it because in the end, I'm going to have 12 jars of soup on my shelf. Fingertip tight on all of them. I am going back and making sure they are all fingertip tight. There we go. And then I'll bring you back when I get to the next step. Now you see I have my canner out. I have 2 inches of water off of the bottom of the canner in there. That's the general rule of thumb, but you follow your own pressure cooker instructions. Remember the vinegar that I had in the container? I'm pouring it in there, and what that does is it protects the jars from getting like mineral deposits on them. And then in the canner, I'm going to put the jars. Now these jars are warm but not hot, so it's not going to shock the jars. It's not hot. I can handle them. So. And I have another rack, and we're going to put that last jar on the top. Goes. You know what I'm gonna do? Hold on a minute. There we go. And we're gonna put 2 jars on the top. And here's kind of the tricky thing about my canner is that sometimes I have to kind of adjust the jars in there to make sure that the lid is going to just drop on its own down. So. It's not dropping on its own, so let me move the jars slightly, maybe here. Okay, no. This one is off, so let me put it over there. There it went. There it went. See? Okay, so now all the jars are in there. And now the next step is for me to center this thing right over that flame. I want it centered. I don't want to have to move it once it's hot. Alright, it's centered over the flame. We're going to start by lighting the fire, and then I'm going to take it down to a medium flame, let it sit there for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to slowly and gradually bring it up until the steam starts coming out of this valve up here. Like every 5 or 10 minutes, I'm going to start turning the burner up, okay? I'm bringing you in to show you that the pressure cooker is gaining pressure. And it's almost to the spot where I need it. And it's sealed up. And so when it gets to the spot and the thing starts jiggling, I'll bring you back. Okay, I'm bringing you in to let you know that it started to jiggle. And I'm watching it, and I'm going to watch it for the next 3 or 4 minutes. But I'm also going to set a timer for 50 minutes because I need this to go for 50 minutes. But I only want that thing to jiggle just a little bit. I don't want it going crazy. I just want it to go a little bit. just enough to keep that pressure up. And so I'm going to go set my alarm for 50 minutes, and I'll be back. Okay, I have found a sweet spot for it. You see how it's jiggling and it's just barely moving? That's where you want it to be for the next 50 minutes. And just kind of hang around with it for the next 50 minutes until the alarm goes off. And so in 50 minutes, then I'm going to let it come down. So it is a long process. It takes, you know, it's taken me, what, 6 hours to process. It took me 2 hours just on the tomatoes. A little over 2 hours just to peel all the tomatoes. Simply because I had to keep going and sitting down. And see how then it starts shaking, and then it's going to calm down again. And that's the way I want it to be. It's just barely shaking, and then every once in a while it needs to release a little steam. But anyway, it's a long process. And so I'm going to take you guys, no, I'll bring you back when the 50 minutes is up. All right, everyone, it is going on 7:30, and the pressure has gone down. When it's 50 minutes, and then the pressure has gone down. So I'm going to take off the rocker as I put this in the sink, because I'm going to need to wash that up and clean it up real good. And then I'm going to check to make sure my glasses on, to make sure that the pressure, the valve is down, and it is. So now I'm going to open the lid carefully. There we go. And I'm going to open it away from me and set it ajar. And then I'm going to let it sit for a good 10 or 15 minutes, because we're bringing the temperature down slowly to save the jars. And I'll come back in about 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll get this canner emptied out and we'll be done. It took all day, everyone, but I want y'all to see this beautiful, beautiful soup coming out of the canner. I think it was totally worth it. I am working on getting this platform out of there safely. And now, here we go. We're pulling the jars out one by one. Slowly. Taking my time. I hear that? That's the jar sealing. I'm also checking the lids on here to make sure that they didn't rattle and roll right off of the jar. And I'm glad I did, because I found two that were quite loose. So I'm glad that I am checking these lids as they come out of the canner. See that? I'm tightening it back down. Ooh, my arm got tired. There we go. We got 12 pints of tomato soup. I want to thank you guys for coming along with me while I canned my 12 pints of tomato soup and got 12 pounds of tomatoes out of my freezer and turned into something that'll be shelf stable and ready for me to just open, and it'll be a good side dish. I'm going to be leaving some playlists at the end of this video, and while these pop and seal, I'll also leave a subscribe button. And above all, you guys be blessed, because you guys bless me each and every day.